Chapter 1 Talent, Deduction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Douluo Continent, Jiando Empire, Hedenmer Province, Blazing City, early morning in the northeast corner of Blazing City. In a beautiful courtyard, a young boy, maybe 5 or 6 years old, with red hair and black eyes, was stretching. Unlike other kids his age, he was a little pale, looking almost sickly. Suddenly, a girl in a red dress, also with red hair, hurried into the courtyard. Xiaoyang, stop with that weird workout routine. It's not doing you any good. Today's the day you awaken your spirit. Let's go. After breakfast, I'm awakening it for you. Wuhu, annoyed that her little cousin was still doing his unusual exercises, blurted it out. It's not just some weird routine, sister. It's aerobics. Doing it every morning helps my overall energy. Muyang didn't stop, continuing his stretches as he spoke. Wuhu rolled her eyes. Seriously? You've been doing that every morning, and it hasn't done anything for your condition. If anything, you seem less energetic. She grabbed his arm, not waiting for an answer, and started dragging him toward the dining room. Muyang felt helpless. Without an awakened spirit, he was no match for his cousin and couldn't resist. And how many times do I have to say it? I'm not sick. Not sick. Not sick. 3 times for emphasis. The reason his face was pale, the reason he seemed tired, the reason he slept longer than other kids, was because he used too much mental energy, not some mystery illness. Muyang was a time traveler. After his college entrance exams, he binged the anime DouluoDalu, or, as he thought of it, Love Continent. Maybe he lacked the spiritual root needed to become an immortal cultivator, but after finishing the first season, before he could even process his feelings about the characters, everything went dark. He woke up, in his mother's womb. At first, Muyang was excited about starting over. He figured, with a little foresight, he could easily live a comfortable, rich life, but things took an unexpected turn. After he was born, he realized he hadn't restarted a game, but time traveled. And not just time traveled, but landed in the Love Continent anime. He figured it out when he saw the spirit in his father's hand, along with the yellow, purple, and black rings around it. As a time traveler, Muyang didn't have any system or other cheat, but still, he had to be different, right? Maybe his soul mutated crossing dimensions. Shortly after his birth, Muyang discovered he had a unique innate ability, deduction. It consumed mental energy to extrapolate different methods. The specifics depended on his mental strength, and correct information, insight, and experience could speed it up. The aerobics he was doing were a result of his deduction ability. Because of this, Muyang's face was pale. He looked tired and slept longer than his peers. In Wuhu's eyes, that meant he had some strange illness. Even their family hired a spirit Douluo, who specialized in healing, but they didn't see any sign of improvement. Soon, Wuhu dragged Muyang into the dining room. 3 people were already sitting there. A beautiful, red-haired, middle-aged woman, a burly, golden brown-haired, middle-aged man, and a boy with the same golden brown hair. Aunt, Uncle, Wu Shuang. Muyang greeted them. Xiaoyang, sit down. After breakfast, I'll awaken your spirit. Mu Xie looked at her nephew's pale face, feeling sympathy. She patted his head and pulled him down next to her. Wuhu jumped in. Mom, let me awaken Xiaoyang's spirit. I've been lucky lately. I found a gold spirit coin in the academy yesterday. Maybe my lucky streak can help Xiaoyang awaken a spirit with full innate spirit power. Despite her young age, she was already a second-level Great Spirit Master, more than strong enough to awaken a little kid spirit. Give me a break. I saw the gold spirit coin first, and you snatched it. Wu Shuang rolled his eyes. Oh. What was that, brother? You wanna try that again? Wuhu raised an eyebrow. Wu Shuang. Xiaoyang, what do you think? Muyang's uncle, Hu Lai, the dean of Blazing Fire Academy, smiled and turned to Muyang. Since my sister thinks she can help me awaken my full innate spirit power, I'm all for it. Muyang nodded, smiling confidently. Wuhu choked. Okay, that's too far. I was joking. Can't you take a joke, star? Ahem, well, I hope you awaken your full innate spirit power, but don't blame me if you don't, okay? Wuhu tried to lower his expectations, afraid of his disappointment. Out of the hundreds of thousands of spirit masters over the last 100 years, only about 20 have been recorded as having awakened a spirit with full innate spirit power. It wasn't impossible, but the odds were extremely low. It's going to happen. I believe in you, it'll definitely happen. Muyang waved his hand. It wasn't that Muyang thought Wuhu was lucky, he was certain he would awaken his full innate spirit power, no matter who awakened his spirit. Long before, Muyang had asked Wuhu for meditation techniques and used his deduction ability to create a basic meditation method that didn't require a spirit. A month ago, he'd hit an invisible wall in his spirit power training. Just like Tang San in the original story, because he hadn't awakened his spirit and gotten his first spirit ring, his spirit power was stuck at level 10. Chapter 2 Twin Martial Spirits. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Half an hour later, in the living room, Wuhu had set up a soul awakening array with 6 black stones on the floor and held a blue crystal ball for testing soul power. Okay, Xiaoyang, step into the array. Muyang nodded and moved into the center. Hokage, take over. Wuhu shouted. Red light flashed around her as her soul power surged, and a fiery orange, human-shaped shadow materialized behind her. Then, 2 soul rings, one bright yellow and one dark yellow, rose from beneath her feet, circling around her. Wuhu quickly sent red soul power into each of the 6 stones. A golden light spread from the stones, forming a pale golden shield around Muyang. As golden specks floated from the stones and into his body, Muyang felt a wave of warmth, like falling into a cozy world. He closed his eyes in contentment. The warmth seeped deeper, and soon, Muyang felt the dormant ancient power within him stirring. In an instant, as if something inside him broke, the warm energy began to flow. One stream vanished after circling his body, while the other rushed to his right hand. Just one martial soul, star. Noticing that only his right hand felt different, Muyang sighed inwardly. If I could awaken twin martial souls and become a title Douluo, I could become a level 99 peerless Douluo someday. Too bad, star. But as he opened his eyes, ready to show off his awakened martial soul, he noticed Wuhu and the others were looking behind him. See? Your hair is just like my aunt's. I knew you could awaken the Hokage martial soul. Wuhu, acting as the leader, nodded approvingly at the fiery orange human-shaped phantom behind Muyang. As for a boy, he's gotta be a fighting type or control type soul master. Otherwise, if he ends up with the food type spirit of her late uncle, how will he protect a girl? Muyang, belatedly turning to look, saw the orange shadow mirroring him. His eyes widened, and he trembled. The surprise was immense. Ha 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 ha. Silence hung for 3 seconds before Muyang's laughter echoed through the living room. He'd forgotten that the Hokage martial soul he inherited from his mother was a beast type. A beast type martial soul wouldn't appear in the palm of your hand like a weapon type. Xiaoyang, you don't have to be that happy about awakening your martial soul, right? Wuxuang looked confused, remembering he hadn't been nearly as excited. Plus, they hadn't even tested his innate soul power yet. Brother Wuxuang, what do you make of this? Muyang stopped laughing and held out his right hand. A faint khaki light flashed, revealing a ginseng martial soul, more than 4 inches long, with 3 green leaves and dense khaki roots. A ginseng martial soul. Wuxuang was speechless, alternating between the Hokage behind Muyang and the ginseng in his hand. Even Wuhu stared in disbelief. If she remembered correctly, there'd only been one recorded case of a soul master with twin martial souls in centuries. It was rarer than being born with full soul power. Twin martial souls. Unlike the younger two, Mu Xie and Huolai didn't celebrate. They were worried. Throughout the history of the mainland, every soul master who awakened twin martial souls seemed to fall under a curse, dying unexpectedly. Xiaoyang, let's test your innate soul power first, Mu Xie said, snapping out of her thoughts. Here. Put your hand on it quickly, Wuhu said, handing him the crystal ball. Muyang nodded, dismissed both martial souls, and placed his hand on the ball. He felt the crystal ball pulling, and the ancient soul power within him surged out. Instantly, a dazzling blue light burst from the ball. It shone like a flawless gem, with a faint blue halo. "Oh my gosh, is that really innate full soul power?" Huo Wuxuang exclaimed. Soul power testing crystal balls came in various specifications. Some could only test low-level soul masters, while others could test high-level ones, but because the tests didn't show numbers, the soul master's power level had to be judged by the brightness of the crystal ball. To get the most accurate test of innate power, the crystal balls used in the awakening ceremony were always the lowest specification. If a low-spec ball lit up with even a hint of blue, that meant the person had soul power and could become a soul master, but if the entire ball lit up, it meant they had the highest level of talent recognized by the soul master world, innate full soul power. Ha 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 ha. Innate full soul power. Tell me, how are you gonna thank your big sister? Huo Wu, feeling like she was on a winning streak, grinned and playfully punched Mu Yang's shoulder. How about I find you a boyfriend with innate full soul power someday? Mu Yang suggested. Huo Wu just stared. What are you talking about? You're way too young to be thinking about that. Besides, can't I find a boyfriend myself? Huo Wu jokingly punched him again. Seeing her reaction, Mu Yang quickly changed tack. Then how about I get you a 100,000-year 9th soul ring someday? Chapter 3, Don't waste time on developing yourself. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 100,000-year soul ring for the 9th one? Seriously, Mu Yang, you don't even need to thank me, but you're pulling out the cheapskate card. You think I'm just like you, with innate soul power or something? Huo Wu just rolled her eyes. Never mind whether her little cousin could snag a 100,000-year soul ring down the road, she had almost no chance of ever becoming a level 90 quasi-title Douluo herself, without innate full soul power, or at least innate level 9 soul power, who could seriously claim they had the talent to become a title Douluo. Okay, across the whole continent, Huo Wu could be considered a genius soul master, but when you talked about making it to a 9-ring title Douluo, her innate 7th level soul power put her at a serious disadvantage. The odds were long. Not impossible, but close. After a moment, Mu Yang looked up. Ever heard of, when one person gets enlightened, even the chickens and dogs go to heaven? That the Douluo continent did offer ways to change your destiny, and considering his family connections and status, he might have a shot. Huo Wu stared at him, then her face turned red. She grabbed a fistful of Mu Yang's hair. You calling me a chicken or a dog? Fine, fine. We'll see who's the chicken or dog here. Alright, you two, break it up. Mu Xie stepped in. Xiaoyang, I'm so happy you unlocked your innate soul power. If you add the right soul ring, you can definitely be one of the top dogs on the continent, a title Douluo like you always wanted. That way, I can face your parents with my head held high, but, you have to remember, from now on, you can only add soul rings to one martial spirit. Never add a ring to the other one. You're not the first person in history to unlock twin martial souls, and they all died trying to add a soul ring to the second one. Xiaoyang, tell me, which martial spirit do you want to develop? I think you should stick with the Hokage martial spirit, she continued. Being the first food-type title Douluo on the continent would be an honor, something for the history books. But the Soul Master world runs on strength. And honor can't protect you like raw power can. Of course, that's just my 2 cents. The choice is yours. So, I can't develop both? Mu Yang asked. It's not like he didn't get it, but no one had ever talked to him about twin martial souls, so it was hard to know what to say. Seeing that Mu Yang was still considering developing both spirits, Mu Xie began to protest, but Huo Lai cut in. Xiaoyang, theoretically, you can develop 2 martial spirits. But it's never been proven. No one knows for sure. At Blazing Fire Academy, we've always been one of the top advanced Soul Master academies in the Qianren Empire. We've had a lot of scholars who studied martial spirits and soul beasts. Some of them came up with a theory about twin martial spirits. They thought that maybe, after you hit title Douluo with one martial spirit, then you could start adding soul rings to the other. The stronger your body, the better you can handle soul rings, right? A title Douluo can handle a lot more than some low-level soul master. And soul bones help, 2, so, maybe, if you had 600,000-year soul bones, you could add 900,000-year soul rings to your second martial spirit, but twin martial souls are rare, good soul bones are hard to find, and 100,000-year soul rings. Forget about it. No one's ever really put the theory to the test. Huo Lai shook his head. Imagine if someone could prove it. How powerful would they be? A full set of 100,000-year soul bones and 900,000-year soul rings. Even if they couldn't get to level 99 peerless Douluo, unless the gods came down, no one on the continent could touch them. Actually, it has been proven, but the soul ring configuration's a little off. Mu Yang thought most people didn't know, but Bibi Dong, the current pope of Wuhu and Hall, had figured out the right way to cultivate twin martial souls. Too bad she wasn't the protagonist. Her second martial soul couldn't get those 100,000-year rings, but even so, she was one of the strongest people around. I'll start with the food one. Mu Yang said. He'd thought about this for a while. If he'd only unlocked the Hokage martial spirit, he would have been a strong attacker or control master. End of story. But since he had the food-type ginseng martial soul, he'd go with that first. Twin martial soul or not, the big difference was that if he just had the food martial spirit, he'd save a soul ring slot for the mirror beast, to see if his ginseng martial spirit could be like Oscar Sausage, whipping up soul food that could copy other soul masters' martial souls. And to deal with needing a strong body to cultivate twin martial souls perfectly, he'd use his deduction skills to cook up some unique body refining techniques and start refining old soul bones. The path was clear, so he wasn't going to waste any time. A bright future was calling. Ginseng first. Okay, Mu Xia nodded, then added, but Xiaoyang, even if you become a food-type title Douluo, give it everything you've got with the second martial spirit, you don't need 9 soul rings. With the soul food you make, even if the Hokage martial soul only has 4 or 5 high-level rings, it'll be stronger than any other title Douluo. The continent's going to get rocky, and that'll be enough to get through it. Mom. What's rocky? Is the Empire going to fight Xingluo again? Huo Wu asked. You're still kids. Don't worry about it. Just remember to train hard. Mu Xia patted Huo Wu's head and left it at that. We're not kids anymore. Huo Wu pouted. Huo Wuxuang nodded, agreeing with his sister. He was past 12. No kid. Alright, you're not kids anymore. Here's a task for you too, Mu Xia said, smiling. Xiaoyang just unlocked his martial soul. He knows the meditation method, but he's never practiced. Help him get familiar with it. Xiaoyang, practice the meditation method with Xiaowu and Wuxuang. Tomorrow morning, your uncle will take you to the Soul Beast Forest for soul rings. Yes. Mu Yang nodded. Chapter 4. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. About a half hour later, Huo Wu and Huo Wuxuang left after confirming Mu Yang could successfully meditate. Alright, time to check out the biggest payoff from playing the sickly kid all these years. Mu Yang thought to himself, eyes narrowed in his bedroom. He'd been frequently using his innate deduction ability ever since he first realized he had it, even leaving out his infancy. It's been several years now. Over that time, he's come up with more than just incredible calisthenics and a foundational meditation method that doesn't require a martial soul to practice. Those only took up a small portion of his energy. The bigger project was a soul power cultivation technique called Extreme Flame Meditation Method. Compared to regular meditation, the Extreme Flame Meditation Method can only be practiced by soul masters with fire attribute martial souls, but it offers numerous advantages. The quality and amount of soul power, and its recovery speed, are far better than others at the same level, but that's just the start. Most importantly, as the soul master continues to practice, their fire attribute martial soul can gradually purify itself using pure fire elements absorbed from the outside world, eventually transforming into the ultimate fire martial soul. Mu Yang hasn't started practicing this himself yet, and no one has confirmed that the Extreme Flame Meditation Method can actually create the ultimate fire. But now that he's worked out the techniques, the martial soul's attributes should be able to transform into the ultimate fire. That's because, from the start, Mu Yang had specific goals and requirements in mind, and his natural ability only provides feedback in two ways: either the theory is insufficient, unfeasible, and cannot be deduced, or the theory is sound and feasible, but it requires a certain amount of time to work it out. Different cultivation techniques and secrets have varying effects and complexities, so the deduction time varies. But one thing's for sure, the final technique will always have the effect he originally set out to achieve. In other words, as long as Mu Yang has feasible ideas and keeps pouring mental energy into deductions, all his wildest dreams will eventually come true. After that, Mu Yang closed his eyes, focused, and calmed down. The soul power in his body began to move according to the extreme flame meditation method. Soon, Mu Yang perceived countless tiny red lights appearing in the dim world around him. These tiny red lights are the fire element particles floating around. As the extreme flame meditation method worked, Mu Yang clearly saw fire element particles constantly rushing into his body, transforming into his soul power. However, since each particle is so small, the whole scene looks impressive. But the actual increase in his soul power felt insignificant. Cultivation is about perseverance. You can't get rich overnight. 3 hours later, Mu Yang felt mentally exhausted and stopped practicing the extreme flame meditation method. Meditation takes energy. Before mental power reaches a certain level, soul masters can't practice for too long, or they'll get minimal results and risk damaging their soul, which is a terrible idea. He might look like a sickly kid, but he doesn't want to actually become one. Snap! Suddenly, Mu Yang slapped his forehead. I almost forgot. I haven't checked out the inheritance my parents left me yet. Remembering the inheritance, Mu Yang got up and went to the bedside table, opening a secret compartment. Inside was a silver bracelet inlaid with a white jade stone. This wasn't just any bracelet. It emitted subtle soul power fluctuations, marking it as a valuable soul guide. It wasn't an offensive or defensive type, but a common storage soul guide. He took out the bracelet and injected soul power to claim ownership. Instantly, Mu Yang sensed the storage space inside. It was a cube, roughly 6 feet long, wide, and tall. Not huge, probably only about 350 cubic feet, but inside, golden coins were stacked nearly halfway up. And on top of the coins, there was an exquisite jade box. About 175 cubic feet of gold coins. How much is that? Probably several million. After a quick calculation, Mu Yang realized he was a rich man, having inherited his parents' wealth at a young age. Millions of gold coins might be nothing to someone like Ning Fengji, but for ordinary people or soul masters, it was a fortune. The golden soul coin is worth quite a bit. A normal family of 3 in mainland China only needs 1 golden soul coin to cover living expenses for several months. Still, money is just a tool. You can't buy everything with it, so he didn't dwell on it. If he really needed something, he could always borrow it. If you're strong enough, you can get away with a lot on the mainland. Of course, he'd promised to return the money to creditors who were likely long gone. Ignoring the coins, Mu Yang focused on the jade box. Sensing the soul power emanating from it, he knew what it must be. He took it out of the soul guide and opened it. As he suspected, the jade box contained a fire attribute left arm's soul bone, red all over, and of decent quality. It was the first time he'd actually seen one. Wonder what year it's from. Looking at the soul bone, Mu Yang muttered to himself, unable to estimate its age. Still, he knew it had to be at least 10,000 years old. Perhaps not even 50,000 years old. If it wasn't a 100,000-year soul bone, then his parents would only disappoint him. With his amazing deduction ability and twin martial souls, he had a bright future. Ordinary soul bones wouldn't cut it. The soul bones from the limbs, torso, and head are different from external soul bones that increase in age as the soul master's level increases. These soul bones generally can't have their ages increased, and without special means, you can't remove a refined soul bone. Chapter 5 Prelude to Soul Hunting. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Putting away the soul bone, probably something he wouldn't need, Mu Yang was lost in thought. People say, when one person finds enlightenment, even their chickens and dogs go to heaven. Maybe that didn't sound great to Wuhu, but Mu Yang believed it. Aunt Mu Xia and the others weren't blood relatives in the strictest sense, but they were the closest thing he had besides his parents. Plus, since his parents died young, they'd raised him for years. Aunt Mu Xia and Uncle Huolai had really stepped up as parental figures. He might not be able to give them unconditional love, but he definitely helped them out where he could. Since the four of them practiced regular meditation, and all had fire-type martial souls, Mu Yang decided to share the extreme flame meditation method he'd figured out. No secrets, Uncle Huolai was the dean of Blazing Fire Academy, a contra with 8 soul rings already. You had to be at least that level to run an element academy. With the extreme flame meditation method, he figured Uncle Huolai could become a titled Douluo, respected by everyone on the continent. Within a decade, having a powerful backer like that before he was fully grown couldn't hurt. Besides, the soul beast forest wasn't exactly safe. Having a titled Douluo along on soul hunts would keep him safe and make hunting down 100,000-year-old soul beasts easier down the road. The problem was, how should he present the extreme flame meditation method to them? He couldn't exactly say he invented it, could he? After a while, Mu Yang decided to write down the extreme flame meditation method and wait for the right moment to give it to them. If the opportunity never came, he could always let Wuhu find it and bring it home. After all, his cousin Wuhu's lucky touch could awaken incredible natural full soul power and twin martial souls, so finding a mysterious meditation method wasn't too far-fetched, right? The next morning, Mu Yang got ready and left Blazing Fire City with Huolai, heading for Sunset Forest, a couple 100 miles north. Excluding the East and West Sea areas. The Qianren Empire had 3 massive, untouched soul beast forests. First, there was Star Do Forest in the southeast, which crossed over into the Star Luo Empire. Second, there was the Frozen North, located in the northern part of the empire, covered in ice and snow year-round. Third, there was Sunset Forest in the north central region, 100 miles east of the capital, Tiando City. Sunset Forest wasn't as big as Star Do Forest or the Frozen North, but it was still huge. Its southeast border touched Hutton-Mar province, where Blazing City was located. Because Blazing City was in the northwest corner of Hutton-Mar, most soul masters in the area went to Sunset Forest to find soul rings when they ranked up. It was full of different soul beasts. Of course, anyone hunting soul beasts in Sunset Forest was usually led by a senior soul master. A low-level soul hunting team would usually stick to the Empire's soul beast reserves, a few 100 miles south of Blazing City, to avoid getting unlucky and running into high-level soul beasts. Xiaoyang, what kind of effect are you looking for with your Ginseng Martial Soul's first soul skill? Huolai asked Mu Yang in the carriage. As the dean of Blazing Academy, Huolai might not be a scholar, but he definitely knew more about martial souls and soul beasts than most soul masters out there. Instead of beating around the bush, he went right to the point, asking Mu Yang what kind of soul skill he wanted. With his knowledge, he could immediately figure out what kind of soul ring to attach, as long as Mu Yang told him what the soul skill should do. Of course, a first soul ring was usually only around 400 years old, so the soul skill couldn't be too crazy. A soul skill that can heal injuries or restore soul power. Mu Yang answered without missing a beat. As a food-type soul master, he needed to create soul food that could heal people, and soul food that could restore soul power would help him improve his natural deduction ability. Soul power food often restored mental energy, just like most soul food that healed injuries restored physical strength. A food-based soul master created food that restored soul power. Eating it restored more soul power than it used. Did that break the laws of conservation? It seemed that way, but it didn't. The energy of a soul skill has 2 parts. One part is the soul power used to activate the skill, and the other part is the energy the skill uses from outside sources. For food-type soul masters, the proportion of energy from nature used by soul skills is higher than for other types. Otherwise, someone like Oscar from the original series, who could recover half his soul power, physical strength, and mental power, or Wuhu and Mommy, who could fully recover more than half of his diamond intestines, wouldn't be able to create it. Heal injuries or restore soul power. Huolai raised his eyebrows and nodded. Low-level soul rings usually couldn't create super powerful soul skills. Food soul skills that could heal or restore soul power weren't a bad choice. Even with a low-level soul ring, these types of soul food would still have a decent effect. But a food that could increase a percentage attribute might be a bit underwhelming. Huolai added, Xiaoyang, for soul skills that heal injuries, it's best to go with a ginseng soul beast or an earth dragon soul beast of the right age. For soul skills that restore soul power, a cool flower would be your best bet. A ginseng soul beast was the same species as Mu Yang's ginseng martial soul. No explanation needed. In Douluo continent, ordinary plants could become soul beasts, so ginseng could, too. Plus, these food soul beasts, which were incredibly nourishing, were popular with wealthy nobles. The earth dragon soul beast wasn't actually related to dragons. We're talking about earthworms. Among soul beasts less than 1,000 years old, earthworms were some of the most resilient, and they were easy to find in the forest. As for the cool flower, it's a support plant soul beast with a natural soul skill that can restore soul power. Chapter 6 Sunset Forest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The carriage wasn't exactly speeding. It was noon before they reached Soul Hunting Town, a good 20 miles outside Sunset Forest. They grabbed a quick bite at a diner in town, and then Huolai led Mu Yang onward. Even from a distance, Mu Yang could feel a refreshing breeze. The plant life smelled amazing, indescribably clean and invigorating. As far as the eye could see, it was a green ocean. Even at the forest's edge, towering trees rose everywhere, casting such deep shadows it was hard to make out anything. Sunset Forest, one of the 3 major wild soul beast habitats, is the place where rookie soul masters from the northern part of the continent dream of going. Every trip is a potential level up. Of course, tons of soul masters come to Sunset Forest to hunt every year, but it's also the final resting place for quite a few. Let's just say, the forest is dangerous, and hunting souls requires caution. Xiaoyang, wild soul beasts roam these woods. You could face danger anytime. Be careful. Got it. Huolai reminded Mu Yang before they even set foot inside, with Huolai leading the way and Sunset Forest not being as treacherous as, say, Star Forest. They didn't have to worry about getting jumped by super powerful beasts, but for a trainee soul master like Mu Yang, who hadn't even gotten his first soul ring, even a tiny, seemingly harmless bug could be a fatal threat. Got it. Mu Yang nodded, serious as a heart attack. He'd read enough novels in his past life to know that plenty of strong characters or guys who thought they were hot stuff ended up getting blindsided because they weren't paying attention. They hadn't been in the forest long when Mu Yang heard a rustling sound up ahead. He snapped his head around, and the next thing he knew, his hair was standing on end and he was covered in goosebumps. A 4 or 5 meter long black-scaled snake was slithering through the bushes. Okay, so it wasn't ancient, not even 100 years old, and it didn't pose a real threat with Huolai around to protect him, but seeing all those wriggling, shiny black scales was way different from looking at pictures in a book. Mu Yang, who'd always been afraid of snakes, was officially freaked out. Ha! Xiaoyang, scared of snakes, huh? Huolai chuckled, seeing how spooked Mu Yang was. Mu Yang just rolled his eyes. You don't see something that looks like a giant, wriggling licorice stick every day. Who wouldn't be a little creeped out? Want me to help you get over it? Huolai teased, eyeing the black-scaled snake that was now disappearing into the brush. No. I'm just not used to seeing one that big. Mu Yang waved his hands, shaking his head vigorously. **** Old man are messed up, trying to use a snake to scare me like that. Ha! Huolai laughed again. They moved on, pretending the whole snake thing never happened. Maybe they were just lucky, but as dusk settled, right when they were about to find a spot to pitch their tent, Mu Yang spotted an unassuming green plant growing near some low bushes where the soil was damp and the big trees were sparse. It wasn't huge, maybe 5 feet tall. The square stem had 6 branches covered in soft fuzz. The opposite green leaves were oval-shaped. Each branch was covered in tons of blue flowers. A light breeze hit Mu Yang's face, and he caught a faint, cool, floral scent that seemed to clear his head. Uncle, a cool flower that's over 400 years old. Mu Yang pointed to the plant. Huolai had already picked up the scent. He frowned slightly, wondering if Mu Yang could actually handle a soul ring that old. Usually, 400 years is the sweet spot for a soul master's first ring, but everyone's different. Someone with a strong physique can usually follow that rule, but Mu Yang wasn't exactly Mr. Atlas. He was always a little pale, slept 10 hours a day, and looked worn out from staying up late. Huolai didn't exactly have full confidence that Mu Yang could absorb a 400-year-old soul ring. Xiaoyang, you sure about this? Huolai asked. After thinking it over, luckily, plant-type soul beasts have relatively mild soul ring energy, especially something like a cool flower that doesn't even have any offensive abilities. It's about as gentle as it gets. Compared to other soul beast rings of the same age, it's not as hard on the body. Otherwise, Huolai wouldn't risk letting Mu Yang use a 400-year-old cool flower as his first soul ring. Of course. Just because I look like I'm about to fall over doesn't mean I'm weak. Mu Yang said without hesitation. He might not stack up against older, more seasoned soul masters, but compared to other genius soul masters who were born with maxed out soul power and hadn't even gotten their first ring, his physical fitness was definitely above average. He'd been doing fitness gymnastics for over a year. It wasn't for nothing. He had real muscles under those sleeves. Huolai raised an eyebrow, giving Mu Yang a once-over. He looked a lot better today than usual, right? He hadn't stayed up late using his deduction abilities last night, knowing he was going hunting today. That would explain his better attitude. Okay. Huolai nodded after a moment, pulled a kerosene barrel from his storage device, popped the top, and tossed it towards the cool flower. The small plant was drenched in kerosene. Then, Huolai pulled out a fire starter, flicked it open, and tossed it at the kerosene-soaked plant. Whoosh! The kerosene ignited instantly, the small flame spreading rapidly until the cool flower was engulfed in flames. When a soul beast dies, it releases a soul ring, but only the soul master who landed the final blow is qualified to absorb it. However, they have to have attacked using their own soul power during the hunt. If no soul master's power is involved in the kill, then anyone with a soul power level of 10 or more can absorb the ring. It's just like how soul masters in later generations can kill soul beasts using fixed soul devices that don't use their own power. Anyone can absorb the resulting soul rings. Chapter 7: The Essence of the 8 Wastelands and Heaven and Earth, Return to the Soul. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. After a while in the intense heat, the cool flower was reduced to blackened ash. Almost instantly, countless golden sparks danced in the flames, coalescing into a bright yellow soul ring. Young plant-type soul beasts are generally considered the easiest to hunt. If a soul master awakens a plant-type martial soul, they can often find a way to obtain a good first soul ring, even without experienced guidance. Eventually, the kerosene burned out, and the flames died down. Xiaoyang, release your martial soul to attract the soul ring, Huolai instructed Mu Yang. Mu Yang nodded, raising his right hand. Soul power gathered in his palm, creating a faint earthy yellow glow. A ginseng martial soul, about 4 inches long with 3 vibrant green leaves, emerged. With a wave, the 100-year cool flower soul ring floated slowly towards Mu Yang, drawn by the soft earthy yellow light. As the soul ring approached, Mu Yang felt an immense pressure. He could even hear his bones creaking. The bright yellow soul ring reached above his head, then abruptly shrank to the size of a bracelet and settled directly onto the ginseng martial soul in his palm. Immediately, Mu Yang felt as if his right hand had been plunged into a raging ocean. An overwhelming surge of energy poured into him through the ginseng martial soul, threatening to burst him apart. Xiaoyang, no matter how much energy surges into your body, you have to stay conscious. Huolai warned sternly, but Mu Yang was too overwhelmed to heed the warning. He focused entirely on the immense energy flowing into him. Instinctively, Mu Yang began using the extreme flame meditation method, accelerating the refinement of the energy flooding into him from the soul ring. Although the extreme flame meditation method primarily absorbs external fire element particles, it also converts non-attribute or other attribute energy within the body into fire attribute soul power. Fortunately, his ginseng martial soul lacked elemental attributes, and wasn't an ice or water type which would be opposed to fire. Otherwise, the fire-based extreme flame meditation method wouldn't have been suitable for him at all. As the extreme flame meditation method took effect, the soul ring energy began to rapidly convert into his own soul power. Meanwhile, unnoticed by Mu Yang, the ginseng martial soul in his palm began to change. The earthy yellow ginseng body grew slightly larger and plumper. The 3 emerald green leaves not only deepened in color but also developed intricate patterns, mirroring the blue hues of the cool flower. A crisp cracking sound echoed as the surging soul ring energy reached a critical point. Mu Yang felt his soul power, once a mere trickle, transform into a flowing stream, coursing through his body. He felt incredibly powerful. With the addition of the soul ring, the soul power level limit was finally shattered. Time passed. When Mu Yang finally opened his eyes, the ginseng martial soul had returned to his body. Night had fallen in the sunset forest, with stars and the moon illuminating the sky. Feeling the unprecedented power within him, Mu Yang smiled faintly. Good, you've gotten taller. I don't think that strange physical weakness of yours will be a problem anymore. Huo Lai, who had been watching over him, adjusted the bonfire and nodded in satisfaction, noticing Mu Yang's slight growth spurt. Hearing this, Mu Yang froze, then his face flushed with embarrassment. Physical weakness. Come on, I'm not weak. Not at all. But Mu Yang knew that as long as he continued using his deduction talent, this image of physical weakness would likely stick with him for life. Ugh, what if he becomes a 9-ring titled Douluo and they call him something like Glass Cannon Douluo? Mu Yang, I'll kick their butts. Rolling his eyes, Mu Yang pulled out a soul power test crystal ball from the storage soul guide bracelet on his left wrist. Huo Lai chuckled. No need for that. Your soul power level has reached level 12. Show me your first soul skill. With his strength, Huo Lai could easily discern Mu Yang's low soul power level. After a moment, Mu Yang put away the crystal ball. Soul power flashed in his hand, summoning the ginseng martial soul and its bright yellow soul ring. Essence of the 8 wastelands and the world, return to the soul. After silently gauging the effects of the soul skill, Mu Yang chanted the incantation. Soul power surged within him, accompanied by the flashing soul ring and a blue light. A 3-inch-long ginseng suddenly materialized. The soul power food created by the first soul skill, the soul-restoring ginseng, was entirely blue, lacking stems or leaves, with only a plump ginseng body and dense ginseng whiskers. Its color and appearance differed significantly from the ginseng martial soul. Just as he had hoped, Mu Yang had obtained the soul skill he wanted. The primary effect of the soul-restoring ginseng was to replenish soul power and mental strength. Food-type soul masters typically need to recite the soul skill spell when crafting soul power food. Many auxiliary-type soul masters also need to recite it when using their soul skills. However, the spell isn't always necessary. With sufficient control over their soul power, a soul master can recite it silently or omit it entirely. At least, his soul spell was a respectable one. Reciting it while making soul power food wouldn't be embarrassing. Ah! Hearing Mu Yang's incantation, Huo Lai sighed. The soul-restoring ginseng can replenish soul power and mental strength, Mu Yang stated, handing the ginseng to Huo Lai. Pulling himself from his thoughts, Huo Lai took the soul-restoring ginseng from Mu Yang, popped it into his mouth, and chewed it like a carrot, without immediately trying to refine it with soul power. Not bad. After a careful taste, Huo Lai nodded. While the soul-restoring ginseng made by Mu Yang wouldn't affect an 8-ringed soul Douluo like himself, the recovery effect would be considerable for soul masters of equal or similar level. Chapter 8 Surprise. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Alright, Xiaoyang, it's getting late. Grab a bite and get some sleep. We'll head back tomorrow, Huo Lai said to Mu Yang, glancing at the night sky. His nephew had always been frail and easily tired. He'd spent half the day in a carriage and the other half hiking through the woods. It was late. He didn't want him getting worn out. After eating some dried meat with water, Mu Yang turned in for the night in the tent next door. As for standing guard, even if Mu Yang offered, Huo Lai wouldn't allow it. No way, a puny karami from the first ring of the food system trying to keep watch. He'd probably get snatched up by a passing soul beast. The next morning, after the soul hunt, Huo Lai took Mu Yang back to Qihua City. Less than half an hour into their journey, they heard the howls of wolves in the distance. Despite his weakness, Mu Yang could sense intense soul power fluctuations ahead. It was obvious a wolf pack was fighting, but Mu Yang couldn't tell if they were battling another soul beast or soul masters. Let's check it out. Without hesitating, Huo Lai scooped up Mu Yang, tucked him under his arm, and sped forward. All they heard were wolf howls, no other beast roars. So, the wolves probably weren't fighting another soul beast, but soul masters hunting. Since it was a human soul master and they were headed in that direction, Huo Lai figured he was strong enough to handle anything in Sunset Forest. He didn't mind taking a look. If the soul master was in trouble, he could help. However, the fight seemed to be over before they arrived. When Huolai and Muyang arrived, they saw a pack of 12 fire wolf soul beasts, each 7 to 10 feet long, tearing apart the bodies of 2 soul masters. The bodies were mangled and unrecognizable, but their clothes showed they were a man and a woman. The bloody scene made Muyang uneasy. Humph, how dare these beasts be so brazen? Frowning, Huolai set Muyang down and unleashed his unicorn fire dragon martial spirit. Surging fire soul power erupted, and soul rings flashed. Dozens of fireballs materialized and slammed into the fire wolf pack, whose ages ranged from 700 to 2,000 years. Boom boom boom, the explosions instantly killed all 12 fire wolves. Soul masters viewed soul beasts as a renewable resource, but their regeneration time was incredibly long, especially for high-level beasts. To ensure sustainability, many soul masters avoided killing them unless absolutely necessary, but soul beasts that killed and ate people were a different story. If you saw it, you had to stop it. After obliterating the wolf pack, Huolai glanced at the corpses and shook his head. After a moment, he unleashed his red soul power into the ground nearby, creating a deep pit. Muyang noticed a necklace soul guide on the woman's neck. A storage soul guide. Suddenly, Muyang realized he had found a solution to a long-standing problem. Suppressing his nausea, he pulled the necklace off the corpse, making sure his uncle wasn't watching. Muyang quietly injected a sliver of soul power into the now ownerless necklace, claiming it as his own. Then, with lightning speed, he swapped a few pages of handwritten notes from his own soul guide storage bracelet into the newly acquired necklace. After that, he relinquished control of the soul guide storage necklace and walked over to Huolai, who had finished digging the pit. They had a storage soul guide. Muyang handed the necklace to Huolai. How could he get the extreme flame meditation method to Wuhu and the others without raising suspicion? He couldn't think of a good excuse or opportunity, but if he removed himself from the equation entirely, it wouldn't matter if it made sense or not. Whatever Huolai did after finding the extreme flame meditation method inside was none of his concern. The dead couldn't talk, so as long as he kept quiet, no one would know he planted it there. Seeing the necklace, Huolai raised an eyebrow, glanced at the bracelet on Muyang's wrist, and nodded, pocketing it. He knew the bracelet was a storage soul guide. Since Muyang already had one, there was no need for a second. Besides, he'd avenged them and was giving them a proper burial, so the necklace and its contents were his reward. Of course, Huolai figured anyone killed by 1,000-year-old fire wolves probably wasn't very strong, and the necklace wouldn't contain anything valuable. It might not even be worth as much as the necklace itself. Little did Huolai know, that ordinary necklace, thanks to someone's little trick, would bring him a huge surprise. After burying the bodies, Huolai and Muyang resumed their journey. By the time Muyang returned to his home in Qihua City and washed off the dust from the soul hunt, it was dinner time. Muyang, Muxia, and Huolai were eating dinner together in the dining room. Huowu and Huowushuang had gone to Qihua Academy after. Muyang awakened his martial spirit. Qihua Academy had a training ground perfect for fire attribute soul masters. And while the academy wasn't far from Qihua City, they usually stayed there. Huolai, as the academy's dean, did the same. Even Muxia, one of the vice-deans, often stayed at the academy, only returning home to cook for Muyang. Luckily, the Hua family was wealthy and had plenty of servants. Otherwise, with the elders away so often, Muyang might have trouble even getting a decent meal. Chapter 9 Prelude to Academy. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Hey kid, now that you've unlocked your martial soul and become a soul master, maybe your aunt can pull some strings and get you into Soul Master Academy tomorrow. Muxia asked Muyang. It was already mid-July, not exactly the start of the school year. But rules are for regular people. As the vice president of Blazing Academy, it'd be a piece of cake for her to bend the rules for her nephew. Besides, even without the whole nephew-aunt thing, his natural talent, off-the-charts soul power, would have any Soul Master Academy tripping over themselves to get him. No matter the time of year or his age, everyone knows, unless there's a serious problem with their martial soul or they die young, someone with that kind of innate soul power is destined to become a titled Douluo. Always has been, always will be. Muyang nodded. Sounds good, but I want to go to Blazing Academy. They've got that mimicry training ground. Those mimicry training grounds cost a fortune to build and keep running. You just don't see any junior or intermediate Soul Master academies willing to shell out that kind of cash. Advanced academies are the only ones that can afford to, since the mimicry training ground is supposed to really boost soul power development. Mu Yang wasn't about to let that advantage pass him by. Mu Xie kind of froze. Listen, Blazing Academy doesn't have anyone your age. It might be tough to find friends if you go there. As his aunt, she didn't want him to miss out on being a kid. He might regret it later. Even though she was already raising 2 teenagers, she still missed those carefree childhood days. Nah, Soul Masters gotta focus on training. Oh, can you find me a tutor who knows about martial arts and soul beasts? I don't really want to go to classes. He was going to Blazing Academy, sure, but he wasn't planning on being a model student. First off, he was so young, his knowledge level wasn't quite up there with the older college students. Second, a private tutor would save him a ton of time. Private tutors are one-on-one. Got a question? Ask it right then and there. Already mastered something? Move on to the next topic. No need to wait for the next class like you do in regular school. Soul Masters gotta focus on training. Mu Xie and Huolai exchanged a look. It wouldn't be weird coming from an adult Soul Master, but from a kid who just unlocked his martial spirit. It sounded a little strange. You sure? You won't regret it? Mu Xie asked. Positive. No regrets. Mu Yang gave a serious nod. Childhood. Been there, done that in his past life. This time around, he was aiming for a god-level upgrade. Except for Qianren Xuefeng, who was just unfair with her level 20 innate soul power, he had the most potential on the whole continent. Plus, he was training harder than anyone else. If he couldn't become a god, who could? Still, it was a long road to godhood. Better start with a small goal, become a 9-ring titled Douluo. Alright, then you can come with us to the academy tomorrow morning. Seeing how serious Mu Yang was, Mu Xie didn't push it. It was a good thing he was so eager to train. Better than wasting all that talent, just goofing off. Later that night, in his bedroom, after his usual meditation session, Mu Yang munched on a couple of soul-reviving ginseng to recharge his mental energy. Then, he had an idea. He started practicing the extreme flame meditation method again, but as soon as he began, that familiar mental fatigue crept back in. TSK, can't fool the system, he thought, a little disappointed, but that made sense. If a soul master could just keep meditating forever by popping some energy pills, everyone would be a powerhouse. So, Mu Yang fired up his innate ability, Deduction, and started working on the mental power cultivation techniques he had planned out earlier. Cultivation was all about Jing, Qi, and Shen, essence, energy, and spirit. He'd already developed meditation methods to handle Qi. Now he needed physical and mental exercises for Jing and Shen, and with the #1 soul skill for restoring mental power, soul restoration ginseng, he wouldn't need years to figure out the physical and mental stuff. Like he did with the extreme flame meditation method, he decided to focus on the mental power training first. After all, until he reached level 20 soul power and got his 2nd soul ring, his superhuman physique wouldn't be that helpful. Mental power, though, that was a whole different ball game. His natural ability, Deduction, was tied directly to his mental strength. The stronger his mind, the faster he could figure things out. Meanwhile, in another bedroom, Huolai remembered the storage soul tool he'd stumbled upon in the Sunset Forest. He pulled out the necklace. After channeling his soul power to claim it, he saw the space inside was pretty small, just a cubic meter or so. There wasn't much in there. Some clothes, food, a handful of gold soul coins, and a few pages of writing. Curious, he pulled out the papers, and there it was, smack dab in the middle of the first page, Extreme Flame Meditation Method. Huolai raised an eyebrow. Meditation was meditation, but what was with the extreme flame part? Sounded like some kind of fire-specific technique, but as he kept reading, his expression turned serious. What was this extreme flame meditation method? It seemed interesting. Refine fire particles from the world, purify the fire martial soul, and transform it into ultimate fire. Ultimate fire was a new one. But if he was understanding it right, it was way stronger than normal fire. What's got you so engrossed? Mu Xie asked, noticing him staring intently at the paper. Interesting, Huo Lai mumbled without looking up. Mu Xie blinked, then focused on the page he was reading. Chapter 10, Martial Soul Disease. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I see here are diagrams showing how soul power circulates. Is this some kind of soul skill you invented? Mu Xie asked after studying them for a while. No, it's a special meditation technique. Whether it actually works, we still have to test. But if these notes are accurate, then this meditation method is pretty amazing, Huo Lai said, shaking his head, his face serious. The fact that this extreme flame meditation method can purify the flame of a fire-type martial soul is already a big deal. Think about it. What's the difference between an ordinary fire-type flying soul beast and the king of birds, the fire phoenix? The biggest difference is that the flames of ordinary fire-type flying soul beasts just don't measure up to the fire of the phoenix. This extreme flame meditation method not only purifies the flame of a fire-type martial soul, but also improves the quality of the soul power in the soul master who uses it, and improving soul power quality can help soul masters break through bottlenecks. Take two hammer soul masters, both with the same natural soul power. One has an ordinary hammer spirit, and the other has the clear sky hammer spirit. Assuming nothing crazy happens, just based on soul power alone, the latter will go further than the former. There's a good reason. The clear sky hammer spirit is the top weapon spirit in the world. The soul power quality of a soul master who awakens this spirit is way better than that of a regular hammer spirit master. As soon as Huo Lai finished, Mu Xie's eyebrows shot up. If her husband was this impressed, then this meditation method had to be something special. Where did you find this technique? Mu Xie asked, curious. Today, Xiaoyang and I were leaving Sunset Forest, and we came across two dead soul masters. We found it in their storage devices. Mu Xie was shocked. Title Douluo died in Sunset Forest. Not exactly. If it wasn't a title Douluo, how would a dead guy's storage device have a meditation method that even you find impressive? Mu Xie was even more confused. You might not believe this, but the original owner of this meditation method was killed by a pack of thousand-year fire wolf soul beasts. Huo Lai said, almost choking, delivering a fact that sounded totally absurd. Mu Xie. Right then, Mu Xie couldn't help but wonder if her husband's eyesight was going bad already. He died fighting a pack of soul beasts barely 1,000 years old. He'd probably only have like 3 or 4 rings at most. What good stuff could a scrub like that have on him? Unfortunately, Mu Xie was wrong. The one who found the extreme flame meditation method wasn't some 3rd or 4th ring scrub, but someone even more unbelievable. His soul power level wasn't even close to the 3rd or 4th ring. It was Mu Yang, who had just become a 1st ring soul master. The next morning, Mu Yang, sporting dark circles, woke up looking sick again. Mu Yang originally thought that with the soul-returning ginseng that could restore soul power and mental energy, he could use his innate ability to make infinite deductions, like a perpetual motion machine. Turns out, he was dreaming, using his deduction ability to burn through mental energy, then using the soul-returning ginseng to recover. Okay for a few tries. But do it too many times, and you'll still feel wiped out, like you've been meditating non-stop. It was different this time. He looked sick because he had overused his mental power before. Now, even though his mental strength was basically back to normal, he still looked super weak, like this wasn't just about looking pale, but about his whole vibe being sickly. This is a disaster. How am I supposed to find a wife now? Standing in front of the mirror, looking at his weak, frail self, Mu Yang couldn't help but feel down. Xiaoyang, is your weird condition back? Seeing Mu Yang walk into the dining room looking like he was on his last legs, even worse than before, Huo Lai was alarmed. 2 years ago, he had called in an 8-ring healing soul Douluo to examine Mu Yang, but the conclusion was that Mu Yang had no underlying health problems, and that his body was healthy, with all his bodily functions even better than those of his peers. Huo Lai had originally figured that these weird symptoms, with no apparent cause, would disappear after Mu Yang got his first soul ring and became a real soul master, boosting his physical functions. But the symptoms hadn't just stayed, they'd gotten worse. Huo Lai couldn't understand. How could he be so weak if he wasn't sick? If Mu Yang was some wild teenager, whatever, maybe he had a girlfriend, or was just overdoing it, but Mu Yang was just a kid who had just awakened his martial soul. He's still growing. Even if he wanted to do that stuff, he couldn't. Before Mu Yang could even reply to Huo Lai, Mu Xie frowned, grabbed Mu Yang's arm, and carefully checked his condition, but as always, she couldn't find the cause. Xiao Yang, do you feel any discomfort anywhere? Letting go of Mu Yang's arm, Mu Xie asked, her face etched with worry. It's fine, you guys don't need to worry. I'm perfectly healthy, Mu Yang said, waving his hand, it's just some temporary side effects from overusing my deduction ability. It's not like I can't recover. Don't sweat it. I'll get used to it. The couple exchanged glances, a shared solemnity in their eyes. It's the fact that you're healthy but look like you're about to die that's got us worried. Otherwise, if we knew what was wrong, there's no physical ailment we couldn't fix. For example, Mu Yang's cancer from his previous life could be fixed in a heartbeat in the Douluo continent. Just find a food-type soul master and chow down on some soul power foods that can clear out abnormal conditions. Xie, you think Xiaoyang looks so weak because he awakened twin martial souls and developed some kind of martial soul sickness? Huo Lai asked Mu Xie telepathically. There was a basis to this guess. He'd heard that it was rare for soul masters with mutated martial souls to suffer from martial soul sickness. If mutated martial soul masters can get sick, maybe it's also a risk for twin martial soul masters. Compared to regular soul masters, mutated and twin martial soul masters are relatively rare. Besides, cases of twin martial souls were so rare that maybe all the twin martial soul masters in history died before achieving greatness. Martial soul diseases are also one of the major reasons, right?